You know, one of the funniest things I keep seeing about the gaming industry, especially in the past 6 months, covering what's been going on with Nvidia and even Steam, is this. The majority of companies inside the gaming space will do everything they can to not only create a massive problem for you, but then also at the same time turn around to offer you the solution, charging you more money and making more money for them on a consistent basis, thereby thinking that they're the ones saving the day, when in reality, they're the one that caused the problem in the first place. And the thing is, this impacts basically everyone across the board. We've been seeing Nvidia do everything they possibly can to either collect shares from other major companies inside of PC gaming, work towards creating one of the most insane things happening in the entire technology space, while at the same time an entire oligopoly is doing everything they can to monopolize and try to screw over as many customers as possible, either by removing themselves from the market or by redoing long-term agreements with other major companies and corporations. When companies like Apple can't get away from this, you know it's going to be a problem for basically everyone. And the thing is, we're looking at an entire market and an ecosystem that had literally no problem raising prices across the board for multiple people, regardless of whatever brand you like to follow, whether it's AMD, Nvidia, Nintendo, PlayStation, or even Microsoft. They all use the term market conditions to raise those prices on you, and to be so inept and foolish to believe they won't do it again when an actual market condition comes across their way has to be one of the most ridiculous things possible. PlayStation even said it themselves. They're going to be monetizing their users even harder to avoid having to raise the price of their consoles. You're going to be expected to see $80 games, higher price increases across all services, and even then, more monetization practices for live service games. They got to make that money somehow, don't they, boys? And expect the same thing with Nintendo, with Xbox, and even AMD as well. They are all part of it. They all want that sweet cut, and they want to squeeze out every penny that they possibly can from you. But there's one company on the back end trying to do their best, yet at the same time keep getting screwed for it. And that's Valve. You see, by now we would have had the actual pricing for the Steam machine, and that announcement has in fact been delayed due to the actual Ramageddon that we're dealing with. The problem is, though, I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better, because PC Gamer yesterday, in fact, said this. According to PC Gamer on Twitter, saying, "It looks like more memory price hikes may soon be on the way, as Samsung and SK Hynix reportedly inform customers of yet another DRAM price increase." Look, I don't know about you, but I'm tired, boss. Exhausted about this entire thing. I really want prices to go back to normal where they in fact were. And the thing is, this entire DRAM price increase is causing massive turmoil across every single piece of technology, regardless of whatever you're trying to use, passing those costs onto the consumer while the actual company has to renegotiate with companies like SK Hynix, Samsung, and even Micron. The problem is, though, these companies know what's going to go on and what's happening, and they're taking advantage of you and these companies for it. And the worst case scenario is this is also going to be impacting the Steam machine and even the Steam Deck as well. And Nvidia's grubby claws are going to be digging into AI and everything else even further. But we'll get to that in just a moment, because the article from PC Gamer, in fact, says this. With the article saying, quote, "An industry insider speaking to SE Daily said Samsung Electronics' current production capacity can only handle about 60% of the volume due to the continued surge in DRAM demand. Customers are also focusing on securing volume," the source says, "rather than the actual price they secure it at. So there will be no problem with a significant price increase." Further to that point, the outlet also says that some industry insiders are speculating that some of Samsung and SK Hynix's customers might need to accept a price increase of more than double the previous contract's figures. So I want to make this clear. This isn't about customers getting told to pay more than double of previous figures. These are the actual contracts that are being drawn up with other companies, including Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Apple, everybody else, even HP as well, having to deal with all these companies like Samsung, SK Hynix, and even Micron charging over double of what we were actually seeing with DRAM previously. Hell, it's gotten to the point that even HP themselves even said that 33% of the cost of the PCs they build are only specifically due to DRAM, not including SSDs or even anything else. 33% of the entire price of a pre-built PC is now RAM. And if you think it's not going to be impacting every other console manufacturer or even every other PC maker, except for people like myself who build their own PCs, honey, you've got a big storm coming, because this is also going to impact Valve specifically. And by that, I mean directly with the Steam machine. It also goes to point as to why we've had this massive delay into the actual reason or pricing of the Steam machine as well, which by my guesstimation is going to be anywhere between $700 to $800. And that device should in fact be around $499, at the most $600, especially because of the actual performance of that machine. And if you think it's going to be all bad because of what HP even said, it turns out that even getting your own pre-built PC or even any kind of GPU in the future is also going to be a problem. Because according to Insider Gaming, Nvidia warns of tight memory supply for coming quarters. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean the memory supply chain that you guys created? The memory supply issue that you guys actually had direct involvement in? You're the ones warning about tight supply now? So I guess the rumors going around of having third-party AIBs no longer have VRAM for their boards is actually somewhat true. The 5070 Ti being pulled from the market, that's also apparently true. Your actual complete stupid inability to go around and push yourselves into this space, screwing every other customer and consumer over, is also something that really should not have happened in the first place. Now you're clearly seeing what is actually happening. Nvidia is going to warn of tighter constraints, which means they're going to raise prices, which means people are going to panic buy at higher prices, which means they're going to make even more money, literally selling the actual pitchforks to the gold rush out in California back in the day. That's exactly what we're doing here. They created the gold rush and they're selling you the equipment for the gold rush, and then when the bubble pops, they'll be the last ones out with a golden parachute after everybody's money and the entire economy actually collapses. But there's even more to this article, and more to Nvidia's bullshit as well. With the article from Insider Gaming saying this: during an investor call following the release of their quarterly earnings, Nvidia CFO Colette Kress was asked directly if she foresees a continued pattern of year-over-year growth in the next fiscal year. In response, she said that much as the company would love to have additional supply of memory, they expect things to be tight for the next, quote, couple of quarters. Therefore, it's still too early to tell. Saying, quote, we do believe for a couple of quarters it is going to be very tight. If things improve by the end of the year, there is an opportunity to think about what that is from a year-over-year growth angle. But it's still too early for us to know at this time, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, she said. Oh, yes, I love it. I absolutely love how Nvidia makes their own problem, and then when they're asked about a solution, they don't know the solution because they're making too much money while causing the actual fucking problem, which means they're going to be restricting the amount of GPUs being available to you and I, and they're going to raise the price of those GPUs, just like AMD said they would do the exact same thing, just like Nvidia said they would do the exact same thing, and just like how everybody was calling out Nvidia for basically putting the 5070 Ti at an end of life. Yet here we are, Nvidia saying, guys, we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is we're going to benefit from it. And you know how they're going to benefit from it? By raising the floor of consumer grade electronics and even PC components and hardware, which means everything else in PC gaming and everything else in gaming in particular is going to get a price increase. And that budget build you were having your eye on, well, build it now, or else you won't have any build at all in the coming years. Because according to VGC, entry-level PCs costing less than $500 will, quote, disappear within 2 years due to the increased memory and storage costs, a research firm predicts. VGC's article says this: in a new report on the state of the PC market, research firm Gartner suggests that the continued global surge in memory prices will not only affect PC sales for this year, but also subsequent years. The report projects that worldwide PC shipments through 2026 will decline 10.4% compared to last year, and that smartphone shipments will also decline by 8.4%. It also projects a 130% surge in DRAM and SSD storage prices by the end of 2026, which will increase PC prices by 17% and smartphone prices by 13% compared to the 2025 prices. With the firm saying, quote, "This is the steepest contraction in device shipments witnessed in over a decade," Atwal said. Higher prices will narrow the range of devices available, promoting buyers to hold onto devices for longer, fundamentally altering upgrade cycles. So now we're going to see a contraction of actual shipments, not products, the actual shipment of PCs and also cell phones. And this is also going to impact everything else in the gaming industry, all thanks to Nvidia being unable to figure out when the memory crisis will in fact end, even though they're the ones that helped cause it. And the funniest part about this is they're also the ones benefiting from it. We could have had the Steam Machine by now. We could have had Half-Life 3 by now, but no. Nvidia wanted to get their grubby little hands in everything, and it's exactly how they're trying to do things. Hell, Nvidia even also saw a massive spike in their GPUs being purchased on Steam as well. It looks like the 5070 non-TI, which of course we've all basically speculated is now end of life, is the one that Steam users are going to be purchasing and using the most. Because according to WCCF Tech on the latest Steam hardware survey reveals, NVIDIA RTX 5070 share grew by 228%. Now here's what's happening. That sounds like a really big number, but I want to put that into perspective. The 5070 previously was sitting around 2.87% total usage on Steam's hardware survey. Recently, after some changes made by Valve, it turns out the 5070 is now looking at around 9.42% total usage, making it the most used card on Steam right now. What you're seeing is a massive jump from what we saw before with the 5070. And even then, that's not NVIDIA's best card. It seems to be the only one that is somewhat approachable in price and also just available for consumers to buy. The problem is, this is where NVIDIA's trying to push into. We also saw a drop in Windows users as well, seeing as how Linux is also becoming a huge push. And this is where NVIDIA is pushing their plan onto Steam and impacting the Steam machine specifically. You see, one of NVIDIA's biggest weaknesses is, in fact, Linux and their insane lack of driver support. It got so bad that right now we're seeing NVIDIA trying to hire people to make drivers for Linux specifically, which would really put a lot of NVIDIA users to be able to use Steam OS. Here's the kicker though. When you put the entire thing into perspective, it gets a little bit kind of funny when you think about it. Follow me here now, will you? NVIDIA helps create a massive memory supply constraint across basically every single industry. They then now control practically the highest amount of GPUs that are being used for AI data centers and all these other companies enforcing AI. AMD tries to get into the ballpark of this as well, making it even harder for other people to switch from NVIDIA to AMD to find cheaper GPUs. We then find out that all the other DRAM manufacturers are no longer trying to go through and provide better deals, but increasing the pricing on long-term agreements and even customer contracts, which means pricing increases across the board for every single user and customer. Then we find out NVIDIA wants to go ahead and start pushing into Linux and having the drivers work there. Not to sell more GPUs, not to be better with how they provide Linux users serviceability. No, they want to do it because they want to push more of their GeForce Now service into the Linux sphere, seeing as how it's getting to be incredibly difficult to find better GPUs and people are going to have a harder time to upgrade. Like we saw previously, the death of the $500 PC brings about different change and upgrade cycles, which means people won't be upgrading as often as they normally do. And because of this, they're going to look for options of how to play other games. The Steam machine being lacked to 8 gigabytes of VRAM is going to put other higher end games that aren't optimized into a difficult situation. which means users have one of two options. They can't go to Xbox simply because the PC app won't work on a Linux platform, but they can sure as shit use GeForce Now instead, thereby crippling all of the major hardware competitors and pushing people to their actual streaming services, which they then can use to nickel and dime you. Nvidia is literally creating the entire problem and selling you the solution to it by their streaming services, which, by the way, they are now time gating you far harder than we all had to deal with back in the 90s with America Online. Literally, pay by the minute is being impacted into gaming, all because Nvidia is trying to restrict the actual amount of users being able to purchase hardware, and people are in fact panic buying, which causes prices to increase and hardware to be reduced across the board. So the biggest issue of people wanting to upgrade their PCs, of me wanting to have a Steam machine simply just for testing and for funsies, to go around and get a new GPU by AMD, all of that is going to be pushed to the side because of Nvidia's insane greed and wanting to basically infect everything in the PC gaming space and be the de facto service of where you stream your games, thereby controlling an entire open market. This is what they're trying to do, not just push into AI, but to control how you play your games, where you play them, and what service you use instead. Valve's Steam machine is in a hell of a lot of trouble if this actually pans out the way Nvidia wants it to, and Steam needs to figure out a way to bypass this and get around it, and offering a piece of hardware that people can actually use for quite some time with better game optimizations and better Proton compatibility to make other game developers put their games onto this platform, have a standard of approach, and then move forward so people can in fact own their video games and not have to stream them from a shit-ass service like GeForce Now. And I know people are going to say, you don't really own your games on Steam, Alex. A lot of games don't even require Steam as a DRM, and a lot of games on Steam are in fact DRM free. And yes, I know GOG is an option as well, and GOG is also doing a massive push into Linux. But the thing is, even if you buy a license, it's infinitely better than paying for a subscription that you gain nothing out of at all. And that's where Nvidia wants you to be. Not buying GPUs, not buying hardware, but paying for their subscription service instead. But it's going to be interesting to see what Steam actually does to combat this and what happens with the Steam machine when it finally releases. But I'll tell you what, I am absolutely sick of Nvidia's bullshit. But you know what? With all that being said, I want to hear what you guys got to say in the comments section down below. Do you think this is the plan for Nvidia? Do you think they're going to be pushing into subscription-based gaming and also locking you away from actually upgrading your own PC while they milk every other major company? Or do you think this is a bubble that's going to burst and hurt Nvidia far longer than people actually realize? I want to hear what you got to say. And speaking about what you got to say, here is in fact the comment of the day from Friday's video, with Ryan IDK saying this: Sony is shooting themselves in the foot by shutting down one of their best studios just to push more live service slop. Brother, we're going to see things go from bad to worse, because the more PlayStation pushes live service garbage, the more you're going to see other studios fall onto the sword because of it. And then we'll have nothing left, even after having a fantastic catalog of IPs from the PS1 and PS2 era sitting there and doing nothing, which is the biggest crime of all. But ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. If you want Discord access or emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't worry about it. Just come on down to the channel every Saturday night, live, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by about 800 people with TTS. It's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel. The streams are insane. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!